Let
Yeah,
me
he's
try
a
to work on this a little bit. I'm having
It's going good though.
trouble. You guys can keep you can keep going. Just for a
It's
second.
okay. We can feel the air. We can feel the air.
Yeah, Kuru, just go ahead,
All right.
please. Go for it.
Yeah. First of all, I just want to say welcome to Swahili family. You know, it's good to be back. And yeah, today we have a very important issue that we need to discuss. Um, as you know, currently Ethiopia is going through a very difficult situation. Um, there is this war that is going on in Ethiopia currently, and yeah, so we're going to talk about some mm, what's the stand of the UN, for example, like why the credibility of the United Nations is it really becoming a very credible organization? So we need to talk about that. So also we have to talk about like what's the role of the Africans as a whole, like in this current situation.
Hello.
What are the roles that has to be played by Africans? So we need also to talk about that too, you know. And how can we Africans mitigate the pressure that is being uh, put on us by the Westerns, especially by the Westerns? And why is that really pressure is really happening in like the one that we're seeing now? So I think those are the topics that we need to talk about today, not like in a depth but in general. So we have to inform people that this is what is really happening currently. Ezra.
Yeah, there are a number of nuances to what's going on, but we will address them to the best of our ability and then to the best of our expertise. And kind of like maybe for the most part, we'll be posing the questions hopefully so that people can
Mhm.
actually go through, think through the issues critically on their own. And so we'll try to empower those listeners, those who are listening to us, with the power to really assess and understand what's going on and kind of frame it in such a way that they can actually feel empowered to do something about it.
True, definitely. And yeah, Ezra, I can start.
Yeah, so I think to me, like, I personally, like, from an Ethiopian perspective, a lot of people would think that Ethiopia is alone, Ethiopia is under pressure, and Ethiopia uh, is cornered. But I see, like, this is my analysis, and I could be wrong, but I also see that uh, this crisis right now that we are experiencing in Ethiopia is bringing to the surface the very weak fabric that that holds together the international community. So one of the fabric that puts the international community together is the United Nations, where like, shared security, shared prosperity is played out. But I think for over for the course of the time that the UN has existed, uh, its legitimacy has been about bringing that security to as many of its members as possible. The economic security, social security, political security, and then everything else that comes with that. But it's struggling right now. The UN is struggling with the credibility, that the way the League of Nations was struggling with credibility. It's facing the similar kind of crisis that the League of Nations faced in the 1930s. That that is it a legitimate and platform for common security for all, not just some, but for all. And I think is also another element that I actually want to raise up is the crisis in Ethiopia is bringing to the surface the brokenness of the relationship between Africa and the rest of the world. That is another element, the brokenness between the relationship between Francophone Africa and France, between Commonwealth members of African countries or even poorer countries and the British, and between many of African countries and then the US, and then also I think it's also part of it. Part of this is our is also bringing what is also coming up here is our relationship with even China and Russia, and I think that's also part of the issue that has been raised up to the surface, to a level where we actually seeing the fault lines that define those relationships. The relationship between international organizations like the United Nations or global organizations like United Nations and Africa, and the relationship between African countries and Africa total and the West, and Africa with the East. And so people are now having to make changes and adjustments. The European countries are struggling to make a point here, struggling to make a case that doesn't reveal their flawed policies toward Africa. They're trying, you have a case where I was saying earlier, where France right now just recently, a few days ago, organized a summit, an Africa summit, that would normally have been done between Francophone leaders and France. Now it'd be substituted with France and the grassroots level, the activists. So I mean, why is France making a shift right now? Is it having to make a case that it is a good friend of Africa? Why does it have to try so hard to have to do that? Who's pushing France and who's pushing Germany to pay compensation to the atrocities they committed in Namibia? Who's pushing France to apologize to Rwanda for its role in the genocide of the 1994? Who's pushing a lot of these European countries having to reevaluate their relationship with Africa? And I think the issue that's been raised up is it sounds and appears that Ethiopia is at the forefront of it. But I am of the view that Ethiopia is at the tip of the spear, but there's a whole set of movements from Africa that is pushing that direction. And then the Westerners are feeling the heat right now, and they're trying to recalibrate the situation that they find themselves in to favor them, to find a way to escape accountability and responsibility by scapegoating crisis and conflict and having to avoid. So I don't want to go too far into it because I could go too far into it in this one, but overall this is my sense of it.
Yeah, that's really good.
Articulating what I just articulated much more straight and much more simpler than I've done. So apologies for me bringing too many gray areas into the subject.
It's okay. It's okay. I just for those for other people who don't really know the Ethiopian context, just let's give them a very a brief introduction, what is really happening. For example, you mentioned the UN. So the UN recently has recalled two of its highest officials. That is Maureen Achining of the United Nations International Organization for Migration, and also Diana Gaeli, I think that is her name, from the United Nations UNFP from Ethiopia. These are very two high officials.
African origins, by the way.
African, African origins. One is from Kenya, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
They were called because of defending the truth. The truth, in our case, the truth is the stand that the Ethiopian government really try to reflect. So I mean that is what is currently happening, and that's why we are questioning the credibility of the UN. Like why? Because these people, what they did is they spoke the truth. It's what's really happening in Ethiopia, and so I mean, and speaking the truth will really cost you. That means they've been recalled,
Yeah.
and they've been yeah. That's and
No,
there's a huge.
Ethiopia just
Huh?
expelled 7 UN officials that
That's
it
also
believed that it
the
believed
preceding event
yeah.
that
So
happened.
that it believed that they were responsible and involved. And hi, Ayala. So they were responsible. So the Ethiopian government made its case at the UN Security Council, and that
Yeah.
has, and then the way Ethiopia made the cases at the UN Security Council was very unexpected. It really came from from an unexpected angle, and then I think it shook the system so much that like it's just they are on what's called on on a dive. The UN is just in a complete dive downward on a downward hill with what happened. And these two individuals were recorded being interviewed by a journalist, and their audio was released. So in that audio, they detail out the specifics of what UN officials were doing and the tension between the UN people that are responsible for Ethiopia and UN agencies in New York, Geneva, and Rome, and the tension between those powers that be at the New York's office, and the tension between and with that of those people leading the UN in Ethiopia, and those in Ethiopia are making the case that the UN is politicizing the process, they're politicizing the conflict to fit in the narrative they want, and so they were recorded making those cases, and that recording was surreptitiously released under very strange circumstances, released to the public, and so UN is now acting by putting these two individuals who have come forward with information regarding this UN misconduct, and put them on leave. Administrative, they call it administrative leave. They have not been fired, so it doesn't look like they've been fired, but they have been placed on.
Not yet. We don't know that yet, but yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so that tension. So if we were to look at what is causing what's going on, what's causing all this tension, this one is the immediate. I would say the matchstick that lit the fire. So when you look at the First World War, the matchstick that lit the fire, they say, is the assassination of the Archduke Ferdinand of Austria and Serbia, and then the Second War started. And then if you say what was the matchstick that started the Second World War, it was the invasion of Abyssinia, which is what we know Ethiopia, in 1935 by Italy. So is this the matchstick that is fundamentally altered the world order, or is it just another event, another uneventful event? So we yet to see where this is going to lead, but it looks like has started a very serious confrontation between Africa and the West.
Yeah, and the question is like, where do we stand now? One, so I mean, like the UN, right? The UN. What is it stands? I mean, what's the fundamental the fundamental makeup of the UN, right? It should stand like it should be for all, right? It should be stand for the people, right? For the people of Africa, or for the whole world in general, right? So, I mean, but we have to ask ourselves now. I think it's a good time to ask ourselves, like, where. I mean, if we want to appeal, like, where should we appeal? Should we appeal to the United Nations? And we've seen that from time to time that the United Nations is not. It should stand like for both. If they say, like, if there's a conflict in the region, for example, it should stand for both of the parties, right? Where is Mika, by the way?
Okay.
Hello?
Mika, I think is doing something.
Guys, I told you today I'm having issues. I don't know what's going on. What's that? I have no idea what is going on.
Really?
Yeah, like, I have no idea where is that coming from. Okay.
Hello?
Is it all right now? Hello?
Yes, quite now. It's good.
It's all right. All right. Okay. I'm sorry, guys, for that.
To me,
I have no idea.
Okay, to me, like, to the best of my knowledge, I think what we need to do is understand, like, we have to give context to what's going on to UN. You guys have heard about the UN mishandling of sexual misconduct. I mean, these are about 80 Congolese people that have reported to have had sexual abuse by WHO officers. You have UN agency, the peacekeeping agency that is also in crisis in the same Congo. That is another element. You have UN in crisis across the world. All UN initiative from Sri Lanka to South America are struggling to really, like, so UN is in that crisis of confidence, this crisis of like, it's in deep crisis of demonstrating its essential value as a platform where all nations and all countries and all nations have equal platform and an equal security and equal guarantee. In UN crisis, so in the context of the broader UN crisis, that's where we place the crisis in Ethiopia. The crisis in Ethiopia is actually demonstrating the limit of the fault lines. It's not. I wouldn't see what's going on with Ethiopia separate from what's going on with UN everywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So it's part and parcel of the crisis, the broader crisis that the United Nations is experiencing. And you look at the UN General Assembly, you have African leaders after leaders coming to the podium, making a case for long overdue reform of UN Security Council, and nobody paying any attention to it, ignored as if it's just, and no European or Western power had the decency to meet any of the African leaders that even came over at the United Nations, be it the Biden administration, the European administrations, or any of those. If they were met, any one of them, is just to see what political maneuvering they can do. You have to understand also that, like, if US is struggling to get consensus across the board, that is a fault line that Ethiopia is showing to the world. There's a so yes, there are a lot of things that are done and not done publicly, but we have to interpret what we can see in publicly and then kind of fill in the gap about what we don't see publicly. So the crisis with UN and the crisis in Ethiopia has to be seen in the context of broader UN challenges that it faces, because African countries have been asking for reform of the UN for many years. I think probably like almost 2 decades now. I think since the early 2000s that the reform question, since the African Union has been established, there has been requests for reform. And this past General Assembly conference, if any one of you go to the President of Malawi's speech, go to the speech by the South Africa, President of South Africa, go to the speech of the new President of Zambia, go to the speech of the President of Ghana, and you hear consistently that like this UN reform is urgent, and the lack of reform is what's causing all this crisis. I think that we see right now. But so the case of Ethiopia is more like, oh, okay, let's see how do we know that UN is broken, and then your case study is Ethiopia. Ethiopia cannot be seen separate from what's happening in the rest of Africa. What you see in Ethiopia is part of the broader challenges that
Exactly.
West Africa.
Yeah, but I just want to point out this for the audience out there and for everybody who's watching now. So, I mean, the question is the UN becoming a tool to implement the kind of strategies that the powers, the superpowers, are the nations are really trying to impose to other less
The less developed,
other
the developing
exactly less
countries.
developed countries or other countries in general. I mean, that's the question we need
That's
to
a very
ask.
good question.
Yeah,
That's a
definitely.
very good
Because
question.
Mika, this is the point where I'm trying to make. Okay, so let's go back earlier. Okay, let's go back. So when
Yeah.
the first missionaries came in Africa, they were missionaries, mind you. They were missionaries. They were on a mission. They were not actually missionaries, but they were spies acting like a missionary, or they are missionaries, right? Let's say that. What happened then? What happened? The scramble for Africa happened because
Yeah.
of who? Because of who? The missionaries, right?
Yeah,
All right.
missionaries, yes.
So that's that's the old trick. That's the trick that doesn't work anymore, right?
Can
Now
I can I
they
give
came
an
into a new umbrella
Yeah,
that's called the UN.
yeah.
Okay, they say we come in peace, like the Mars Attack film, right? Have you seen the aliens?
Yeah.
The aliens when they come to Earth, they say we come in peace, man. Huh?
And they
So
always have different agenda.
agendas, always with agendas, man. For example, the in our history, right? So who came, like for example, how there's a party called TPLF in our country, and that how that the party came was he's been assisted by the United Nations. This is a fact. You can find it on the internet and stuff like that. So what I'm just trying to tell you is that I think if this is the new era that we're in now. So I think the UN, for me personally, it is an organization that is a puppet organization that is being played by the countries that it serves the interest of those countries that are really that are in power right now. Those countries are the Westerns, for example, specifically the Western countries, because not all the UN members are biased. This is the point that I'm trying to make, because there are other countries, for example, the Eastern Bloc countries like Russia and China, they stand against the West influence. That is what is currently happening. But mind you, right? So we're the notion that okay, today I think I send you a link on WhatsApp, right? If you can check it out, there's
Yeah.
a presentation made by Lumumba. This is Professor Lumumba, So currently,
He should have
he was
played. Yeah.
giving that. Yeah, he's giving that presentation to the ministers that were elected
The highest
recently, right?
cabinet members in Ethiopia.
Cabinet members, and he was talking about the
Yeah.
same thing that we were talking about here. Oh my god, I
Mm.
was so impressed, man. He was
Yeah.
talking the
Yeah. You
same
know.
things, man.
I
Wow.
took the last part, and I've been trying to upload for a long time. It's taking very long time, but I watched all of the speech and listening to every single word he's saying, man.
Isn't that
It's
amazing?
it's amazing, man. Because it's what exactly we are standing for, man. It's exactly everything that we
Exactly.
always talk about.
And
Like
my friends,
mm,
unity. You
mm.
think the last time
But
you said like unity is not a trait, dude?
yeah,
Unity
yeah,
is a trait. It's a trait.
exactly.
Unity is a trait to
Mm,
them. You know.
uh, uh.
There's
So
a
I have a video
story.
here.
There's a story by Chinua. I think it's Chinua Achebe of Nigeria. I could be
Mm,
wrong on this one, but I think it goes
mm,
like, "Oh, the missionaries came, and
mm,
then they built a church,
mm,
and when we got to a church, we Africans, when we
mm,
got to the church, we had our land, but when we
mm,
finished service from the church,
mm.
come out, we no longer own our land." That's
Yeah.
how. That's how. That's how. I think it's Chinua Achebe. I think who said it.
yeah,
I could be. I could be. I'm open to correction, but I think
Mm,
um, is like Kuru, you raised a very important issue, and I think, uh, but what we are seeing, what we are experiencing, is that what Ethiopia is doing is people will see it from the perspective of weakness, and I think they will get it wrong if they do it from a perspective of weakness. Look at it from the perspective of strength. Ethiopia
mm,
is asking questions right now, asking
mm,
the questions that you dare not ask,
mm,
and its confidence is willing to go as far as possible,
mm,
and forcing these nations, these countries, and these organizations to really reassess how to deal with it.
mm,
And what you see is all the signs point to like efforts, like a struggle on the part of the West to really like how like so on the one part they want to push back hard on Ethiopia, but they're
mm,
struggling to push really hard on Ethiopia because if they push too hard, it will prove the point that Africans are making, that
mm,
you're against African aspirations, you're against Africans' desire and Africans' effort to realize the dreams of unity. At the same time, they don't want to let it go because if they let it go, then if you let go of Ethiopia,
They
then
look weak.
the Pandora's box, and you have
Yeah.
no idea where that is going to end. If you let Ethiopia have its way right now, next, Congo will be asking its way, Angola will be asking its
Exactly.
way, Mozambique will be
It's
asking its way, and I think
mm,
and then the fact that Ethiopian government took a fringe guy. This is like this Pan-Africanist is in most part. You hear it in the fringe part of African the media, not on the
mm,
mainstream. The fact that they brought him on the mainstream and gave him a podium and a platform at the highest government level is also sending a signal to them. So, like,
mm,
okay, you can pull a punch, we can pull a punch.
mm.
And then you look at
You
the
know,
UN security presentation done by the Ethiopian ambassador. It was like, oh, you are pulling a punch, we are pulling a punch too.
mm,
You want to play games, we can play games too. We're going to air all your dirty laundries and the highest possible platform. And so when the Ethiopian ambassador laid out all the issues of the UN on that platform, it really took everybody by surprise. They expected Ethiopia to come in all because they have painted Ethiopia as this dictatorial state. And they're gonna come in like behave like the the Iraqi foreign minister at the UN Security Council, kind of claiming the Western imperialism and that kind. Ethiopia didn't go to the UN say claiming Western imperialism. It just pointed straight to the issue, and that
mm,
that's touching nerves. you have to look at it from the perspective of this. Ethiopia is touching nerves, the nerves of many of these countries right now. And so
I think
Africans need to do is like, how do we back this up so that it results in an outcome that benefits not just Ethiopia, but Africa, but also the world. I think to me that the fact that the world is in crisis, the UN is in crisis, is the result of the absence of Africa at the highest possible table. You look at the Ghanaian president's speech and you get an idea of it. You have G20 countries. G20 countries, it doesn't include African Union on the table. African Union is not on the table.
That's ridiculous.
African countries have small economy, but together as African, we have an economy the size of France, even though it should be many times more than that, but it's sufficient enough to warrant an Africa on the table, but it's not. So G20, I'm not talking about G7. I'm talking about G20. So that's what I think that's part of the things that I think we need to think about.
Let me add some point as well. The point that you just mentioned right now is, I think this is very necessary and it's very important, to talk about, because I think to just qualify, just in case if you're UN and you're watching this live stream right now, one thing that we have to know to understand is that Africa has been, like back there for a very long time, to the point where we haven't been eating at the same table. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're talking about world leaders, we never sit on the same table to eat that cake, the world cake that everybody's supposed to eat, and everybody's supposed to have a equal share with one another, because we are all the same. There's no difference between any country outside of Africa and Africa itself. And even the conversation that we are having right now about UN, like, it's necessary for us to talk, and it's necessary for us to raise questions, or each country, so even Africa Union, Africa as one, it's necessary for us to raise questions, because this is the way that it was used before to colonize us. Just like Kuru, the way you pointed out about, how colonialism began from the very start. They came as a missionary to come to bring the gospel of Jesus Christ, and that was the way that some of them, they actually brought colonialism, and we know that, right? So right now it might be coming in a different form, and the best thing we can do as African is actually to be aware and to question the intentions. When we have all these international organizations that are coming to different countries, coming to Africa to do some activities, if it's volunteer, if it is helping, if whatever, because we gotta admit that there are good work they're doing. But on the other hand, there are different agendas that always they're right there to do, to come to implement their own thing that they want to do. If it is, to spying, if it is to take away, whatever it is, like there's always different agenda coming. And us as Africans, us as people who are belonging here, we always should ask, we always should be able to question the intentions. And when we begin to question, that's the problem. That's where the problem begins. Because I don't know if a lot of time they expect that we should just stay silent and accept whatever that it comes. But having conversation that we are having right now is not just for the sake of Ethiopia and what's going on right now, but it's for the sake of Africa. And what Ezra just said right now about G20, when you look at G20, we don't have Africa Union. I see there's a part that Africans as well we have to play as a whole continent, as a whole. If this is what Professor Lumumba was sharing a couple of days ago, that Africa, we're weak. We are so weak because we are divided. And so imagine if we are one, and imagine if we are united. That means we'll be able to even demand what we are talking about right now, because you're like, you know what, you guys, you have European Union, we have Africa Union, and it's strong, and we are strong together, and this is our economy, and this is what we do, and this is how we operate. If we have something like that, I'm telling you, we are not even going to need UN to come and to support, like the way that is happening right now everywhere. You see in Congo, you see there, you see UN everywhere. But if we have our own union, that Africa Union, I mean, we'll be able to solve a lot of issues that are going on right now in the continent by ourselves. And whatever the support comes from outside, it's not supposed to be primary. It can be secondary, but not primary. But right now, when you look at us, you see the primal support, the primal aids comes from outside and not really from within. And that is something that no matter how many times or how long we're going to raise our voice and talk about it, if we are not waking up, if we are not standing tall together, because here in this fight, what is going on right now in Ethiopia, if Ethiopia itself stand tall and all other African countries stay silent, without joining and to be, you know what, we're backing you up because we are one. And what you say, you have a point, and we have the same point as well. If we stand together and we join our hands and we raise our voice, I mean, nothing is impossible, because you're not going to be able to put sanction on all Africa. I shared about this before, because you need us. But it's very easy to put sanction on one country because you believe another country will provide whatever resources you need. I can put sanction on this country, and then the neighboring country will just have an amazing cooperation and will increase even the aids, just to make you, to make you see that, you know what I'm saying? This is what is happening when you're not in relationship with us. But what we have to focus on as Africa, that we need the strong relationship within ourselves. We need to have that. We need to have oneness. We need to hold our hands, and we need to stand tall together, because divided we fall, man. And together we stand, and we stand tall, and nothing is going to shake us. That's what we are talking about today, guys, just in case if you're joining right now.
Yeah, and Israel mentioned a very excellent point, man.
Yeah. About G20 and AU?
No, not only that. Not only that. He said, like, we touched things that shouldn't be touched. We're touching the system that shouldn't be touched, So, and trust me when I say this, man. All Africans are watching what is happening in Ethiopia. Because you might be the next. You might be the next. So if that's happened in Ethiopia, then probably will happen to you too.
It's gonna happen in another place.
I think another thing that you have to look at it from a flip perspective. What if Ethiopia actually succeeds in overcoming this?
That's when everybody will join.
That's also a scary proposition. So on both ways, it's very scary for both ways, or both directions. It's a very scary proposition. If Ethiopia is dismembered and then broken up, watch out. Every other African country will experience similar crisis.
Exactly.
And I think like in that video that you watch of I think Lumumba, Professor Lumumba, I like the fact that his name is Lumumba, but he talks about expect hundreds of African countries. If we go this path, he predicted the future. When he predicts the future, we're not just going to be 54 countries or 55 countries. We're going to have hundreds of countries. And then
exactly.
Hundreds of countries, the kind of conflict that we have to go through, almost because you can't just overnight separate Volta from the rest of Ghana. Because they are Ewe people. And they have another Ewe people in Togo. And then you can't just break up Ethiopia and then ignore Nigeria with the Yoruba, Hausas, and then Igbos in between, and everybody in between. You cannot ignore. So once you divide, you can divide even further, and mathematically you will never achieve zero. You will always have further more divisions. That's on the other side. On the flip side of it, what if Ethiopia succeeds? What is the scary proposition that we have on the table that scared the bejesus out of a lot of countries? What is that? And so it looked to me, if I was to predict, if we are in the midst of the crisis, you see the crisis, the tension, the pounding, and the noise, you think Ethiopia is on the losing side here. But if you actually really think through, and every stage of the way, these past 3 years, what has been happening? is the unraveling of an order, a system of governance, unraveling of a system of governance that benefits just the minority, the elite, to a system of governance that is broadly popular, broadly based on public's perspective. I mean, like, could you have imagined, I don't know, Kuru, could you have imagined a police would beat up somebody in Ethiopia? You will see a ramification for that action on the positive trajectory instantaneously like that. I mean, in America, I mean, you see black people get beaten up. We don't get reaction quickly enough from government officials, like where the police are quickly apprehended, they are brought to justice, to court a few days later. That kind of those things are a sign. I mean, I'm not saying Ethiopia have reached there, but a lot of things point to the sign of, okay, I, as a leader of the country, I'm deriving my power not from the capitals of Europe and America. I'm drawing my power from the neighborhoods and communities of my own nation. That's a huge shift right there. And then another thing that, like, another element that I want to bring to this conversation is that, like, the biggest burden for people running Ethiopia is not the pressure coming from the West. That's not the biggest one. The biggest burden in Ethiopia, if you are a serious person, if you are seriously running the country, your biggest burden is the demographic challenge in Ethiopia. You have 70% of the population under the age of 30. 120 million, close to 120 million people. That's somewhere around 70 to 80 million people that are, I know, with their mouth open for opportunities and jobs, and you know, so you can't. These are young people who are interested in, who know about this. We are in the world of connections. They know about. They can't hide their poverty from them. They see their poverty. They see their challenges. They see their economic, their social, their political challenges, and they can't stand it anymore. So the biggest pressure that, like, you know, if a country like Ethiopia comes from within, and that pressure is much more compelling than the pressure that's coming from all these other countries. So like, you go to Africa, the same thing. And by 2050, the population of Nigeria will be bigger than that of the United States. It will be over 400 million people. By Tanzania will be, I think, close to 100 million. By 2050,
Africans were good at giving birth.
And so we have the youngest population in the world. So the demographic challenge for African countries is much more pressing than it was 10, 20, 30, and 50 years ago. And they can
at the same time, we can take it for our own advantage, because we have such a big land in Africa, and the biggest resources we have, apart from all these minerals and everything, is people. That is the big resources we have given by God. As I said, we love giving birth, and you know, like, if we invest on that, and I don't know, man, these are kind of things that we need to be planning. You know what I'm saying? Like, as AU, Africa Union, we need to be, you know, planning about the next 10 to 20 years. What are we gonna deal with this population that we have? Because honestly, that is scary. That is scary, because you have a lot of countries, for example, in Asia, that they are afraid. They are scared that, you know, people, they don't want to give birth. People, they don't want to have kids. You know, just Korea, where I lived, like, people are scared. People, they don't want to have babies. They don't want to have kids because of different reasons, because of hardship of life, because of, you know, mother-in-law's issues, you know, because of expenses and all those stuff. So people, they decide that, you know what, we're not giving birth. And I was reading this one article. It shows that by 2025, right now it's 2021, 2025, a huge population of South Korea is not gonna, like, they're gonna need some young people, because most of the people who are in workplaces right now are old. And young people, they're not there. Most of them, they just live outside. That's why they give scholarship a lot to international students to go there, and to make sure that, you know, some of them even to have international marriage, because, you know, foreigners, they don't really care about, mother-in-laws and all those kind of stuff. So like to serve country from economic depression that is going to happen in few years to come. But when you look at Africa, we have resources and we have people and we have everything that we need. But planning. One day we were talking about planning here. Planning. I don't know what we think, about
There's a
tomorrow.
plan.
How are we
I don't
gonna
know how
face tomorrow?
I don't know how good it is. I think Kuru probably knows it better than I do. The Agenda 2063 of the AU. I think is. I mean, when I read it, it felt very comprehensive. I didn't know but Kuru can maybe expand on. There's a plan that's taking place in Africa. Africa is
Right now.
rolling out plans. And then they have been implementing those plans already.
I really hope that it works, because sometimes it feels like we're really good at talk, but when it comes to put on actions, it's yeah. There's always a barrier, and that's what Professor Rumumba was sharing in that video.
Of gradualism.
Yeah. He spoke about things that they were talking about a couple years back, like 10 years or 20 years, and it said nothing happened. We spoke about this in Ghana, nothing happened. We spoke about this, so the only thing we do is always just talk. But when it comes to the time of implementation, everybody is kind of like, oh, okay. So people that we have there, they're not really,
Yeah, but Mika, let's put it this way, right? Because Israel has mentioned like the pressure is from internal. There is an internal pressure, right? So like, okay, so we have the youth, we have the young people, we have the population, we have the resources, and those resources are putting pressure on the government or the countries to make change, right? Okay, so what caused the pressure from outside? What has caused that? The pressure from within caused the pressure from outside, right? Because it's all about economics, man. It's all about economics. When you put it at the end of the day, it's all about economics. So the pressure that is the needing of more jobs, right? The need of employment, and those has created like the kind of policies, the kind of strategies that you take, right? So what happened? For example, what happened to us? Like why all this external pressure has come to us? For example, like we have to ask that, because now for currently the United States with all the rest of its allies has tried to put a sanction on Ethiopia. Why? I mean, why? For example, like you have to ask why. It's because you're trying to solve the same question, the same internal problems that you're faced. Like you want to solve unemployment. Okay, so we're gonna say like, okay, we're gonna build a dam, for example, right? We're gonna build a dam and we're gonna create our own powers, and then with that power, we're gonna create other jobs, we create other investments and stuff like that. And when you try to say that, in the end, all eyes on you, and be like, okay, what are you? Okay, so Ethiopia, what the hell are you doing now? What are you doing now? We're supposed to give you aid. Okay, we are the ones who's supposed to give you aid.
No. Another problem with Kuru is like, it's not that I don't think they have a problem with you solving the problem, but they want to, because when you solve the problem, you're creating opportunities, but they're not sharing the opportunity. So they want their multinational, big, massive organizations and companies to come to the table to be on the table with the rest of. So like the fact that Ethiopia is solving the problem in a manner that does not really give them that free ride they've enjoyed.
Exactly.
That is also another issue. They want they care about profits and Ethiopia's potential profits. And look at what's going on. Safaricom right now, the biggest investment to Ethiopia, the biggest ever, about close to $8 billion. It's an amalgamation of European, American investors, and African investors. I mean, like, that is to me a sign that Ethiopia is not necessarily saying, oh, Westerners cannot come to the table, but they just have to have a deal that works for Ethiopia.
But this is neo-colonialism all over again. This is colonialism all over again. So before then, they were doing is they were actually in the country, actually in the continent, and actually doing like extracting whatever they want before that, right? But now they were sitting there and they want
Still,
still they want to do exactly the system
yeah.
still exists. It's not, it didn't go anywhere, man. I ask you.
The system is still there and it's just getting smart because right now they don't need to come there to lead you. They don't need to come there to force you, but they're somewhere there in the headquarters and trying to predict and trying to decide how you should live, you know. And you know, we have a point here, all right? So if there's someone watching there and be like, you know what, you guys are talking a lot about West, but we have a point here. Look at all those countries. Look at countries like Libya, what happened in Libya, right? Look at all these African countries that they had, you know, they had all like what we're talking about, and you see where they're living right now. They used to be better off before, you know, before Americans went there. But right now, you know, life there is hard. Like, look at the crisis that is going there. Professor Rumba, he was trying to mentioning all the African countries and how many crises they're going on. Man, like, I was like, oh my goodness, some of them I didn't even know. He mentioned Burkina Faso. He mentioned Nigeria, I knew that. He mentioned Congo. He mentioned South Africa. Is it South Africa, whites majority? Yes. They want to have their own separate country. I was like, what the heck is this going on? This is crazy. And he spoke about this 53. He said, look at us, we have 53 countries. What's going on? And we might have even more than that, even 100 countries at the end of the day, because everybody wants to be divided. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants to be divided. And when you look at that, it's not just inside, but you always see some pressure from outside. Yes, we have pressure inside, but you always see pressure that comes from outside. And that is destroying. And that is like, it's putting something in Africa that it's keep on like weakening us.
Like
weakening
a leech.
us for exactly. For some reason, like we
okay, let me give you like data. I'll just do a quick Google search. Quick. Okay. It's not even deep search. I just searched illicit capital outflow from Africa. And UN research says it's more than that, but this is UN saying $88.6 billion worth of capital flies out of Africa. Flew out of left Africa in 2020. That's equivalent to 3.7% of the gross domestic product of the entire Africa. And then how much aid money did we get? How much? We got about, in 2019, the last data that's available, it says $47 billion in foreign aid came to Africa. So the net is negative. We have negative net. So money illicitly, we're not talking about legally living there. Illicitly living in Africa, over $88 billion, almost double the amount of aid that we get in return. So this disparity is being questioned right now. People are asking and challenging this disparity. And the fact that, let me give you an idea. The fact that all the noise that's been made about Ethiopia, about its atrocities and also called atrocities, like so-called atrocities, and also so-called, dictatorial tendencies of the Abiy, so-called dictatorial tendencies, all the questions, you don't hear any African country like really seriously like backing the voices of the European. They're struggling to get other African countries to publicly say something onto the Ethiopians. And why is that? Why do you think that is the case? Why, like, the most they can get is the Kenyan leadership saying, we support the peaceful resolution of crisis in Ethiopia. That's it. That's the most they can get out of. And that tells you, so people are demanding the reformulation of the formula that has been established in a completely different era, in the 20th century. And then African countries are like waking up, asking, demanding, no, we need to renegotiate our deal. And that's what's happening, and how do you, so like they call it the white, the Europeans have, and Americans have it called nip it in the bud. The term nip it in the bud, I don't know if any one of you know about it, but nip it in the bud kind of situations right now. So if you don't nip it in the bud, the crisis in Ethiopia, the crisis that, which is, so think of it this way, it's not only Ethiopia that's in crisis, UN is in crisis, Western powers are in crisis right now. It's not, they're not in crisis, they are in deep crisis right now. and then they want to nip it in the bud. They want to nip that in the bud. And how do we do it? Demonize a whole nation. Try to paint Ethiopia in an image that is so hard for a lot of Africans to visualize. And
yeah, people they don't really understand, because hitting Ethiopia is hitting Africa. You know what I'm saying? It's the second highest populated country, you know, in Africa, you know, after Nigeria. But we all know what's going on in Nigeria. You know, it has always been that way. But you know, hitting Ethiopia, it's actually hitting the center of Africa, and that's what it's trying to do. And weakening Ethiopia is weakening Africa, and that's the reason why Africa has to come together and has to be a working, you know, to speak about this. I wanna allow my sister here join, and then we'll go to Ezra, South Africa. Welcome sister, again. It's good to see you, guys. But let me say this, guys. If you can show your face, it would be amazing, guys. You know.
Hi to this Annette, and I just want to say, what's up, Israel, man?
What's up, my Leonard intellectuals. I'm just consuming all this information, you know.
Exactly. My sister, you can go ahead first, because you've been.
Hi, it's okay. Ezra can continue. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you again. I was just thinking
of. Good to hear you.
I was just thinking of the point that you guys were talking about at all time. It's about the economy. I think one of the things that we should start working on. I know in African Union there are some kind of deals and agreements between countries, but as a youth and as a community, because at the end of the day, if the community works together, it will happen. So I think it is good, like to think about investing or going to Tanzania instead of trying to process it in different country, trying to bring materials from Ethiopia instead of going to Dubai or so. I think that's one thing that we need to think about and to work on. Even now we are discussing about it, and there are different youths who are very passionate. So it's good to think about how can we invest together. If we are talking about oneness, I think we need to start, because something that you invest in, something that your treasure is there, your heart will be there, right? So that's one of the things that we can see for. This little seed that we start will grow, and because it is in time that Africa is here where Africa is now. So once we start investing on different countries in different places in Africa, like you are in Tanzania, so I should partner with you because I know you, right? So and we start something in Tanzania instead of me focusing in my own country only. Or if it is South Africa, that's the same thing. Like being partner in doing something, actual thing that can help the community, that can help us as individuals and as a continent. I think that's one of the things that we should really work on, because if we are not strong economically, whatever we say, it's going at the end of the day, we're going to be frustrated and still keep talking about it, and there's no change. But I think we should go ahead and start some actions. I know there are some legal issues in every country and every legal challenges we will face. But if we say let's go ahead and start by little, I think it will go ahead and change the nations for good.
That's an amazing point you raise, you know, sister. It's very interesting and really amazing, because it reminded me of what also Professor Lumumba mentioned in his speech 2 days ago, and he spoke about the currents. He say, I come here to Ethiopia, and I come from a shilling zone. If I bring my shilling here, people, they're like, no, we don't know that. But if I take dollar and euro, they're like, okay, bring that in. So even somebody was talking here in the comment that even the mindset that we have, us as African, I think we need to embrace one another. We need to work on this. The African currency, like the African currency that I'm using here in Tanzania, I should be able to use in Uganda, Rwanda should be able to use in Ethiopia. You guys should be able to use in here in Tanzania. Like we should work on something like that, because if we work on that, then it's kind of like a starting point for us to expand in business and collaboration. That I know I will take my currency, I'll use in your country, and investing what you shared about. I think one person that is doing that, even here in Tanzania, is Dangote. Dangote invested here. He has like a cement industry,
Nigeria.
and in other parts of the in Nigeria.
That's
And in
really good.
Ethiopia as well. Yeah, those are kind of things we can do. But you might not be a Dangote. You might have just a small business that you want to invest, and this is something that we can actually do to steer up the economy. That's very good point, sister.
Yeah, I think like one thing I would add to that is like it's not just the currency that are like moving around. Like if you buy, let's say, a flight, an Ethiopian Airlines flight from, let's say, Dar es Salaam to Abuja, okay, and you pay the payment. That payment is processed somewhere outside the continent.
Exactly.
Really?
You're right.
Yeah. And then whatever
Wow.
fee is associated with that payment. So let's say Ethiopian Airlines will get your dollar, but there are fees and stuff like that. Those fees are remaining somewhere else, some other part of the world. Now, I mean, it's like these are some of the things. But the problem is also like, what about small countries? How do they deal with it? How like small countries like Benin, Togo, Central African Republic? How do small countries like Burundi, the Gambia,
Rwanda,
how do they confront this kind of giants? So like we got Western powers already struggling with how do they deal with big tech companies that combined together sometimes can actually be bigger than even some Western countries. Their total GDP or their total value could be bigger than Belgium or Luxembourg or Netherlands. So how do you do? So they are struggling with dealing with these big, massive companies around the world. And then how do you expect Benin to deal with Facebook or Google? So we're not only with the actors on the table are not just Western governments. We're talking about businesses. Why do you think like all of a sudden, the Google is so passionate, interested in Africa, and they want to invest $1 billion in Africa? It's not just nothing just happens out of the blue. The pressure Ethiopia is applying is, I'm not trying to credit what Ethiopia is doing. It's not. I'm not saying it's a credit to it, but it's the way we see it. It's like if we want to understand what's going on in Africa, like it's hard to see because we don't have open media where we don't get to see and understand what's going on the ground. But when countries like Ethiopia and Nigeria are confronting these powers, and that's when you realize, when you have big countries like South Africa is confronting these powers, that's when you know, okay, something is happening, something is brewing here. And so like the economic power is important, but it's also the one that is that we are already right now we are resolving these issues, and we're facing problems because of that. Because we began to resolve them, we're getting pushback, and that's my interpretation of this circumstance right now. So, I don't know where Kuru went.
Ezra is right here. Ezra, you gotta fill us in, and maybe you can share as well. What's going on there. I heard that whites majority want to have their own country. They already felt something. You can share with us a little bit about that as well, and your opinion.
It's a province called the Western Cape. That's where Cape Town is. It's we cannot say it's a white majority. It's mostly people from you can call it mixed race, people who are descendants obviously of black people and Europeans and the Malay people that came in the Cape as slaves. And it's just a whole mixture, and also the Khoi and the San people as well. It's like our so-called mixed people. It's not really just the black people only, but it's wide. It's just a whole lot of mix of people from different places that came, and then because Cape, remember before the Suez Canal was used,
Yes.
most of the trade between Europe and Asia used to pass through the Cape. The South Africa, for example, that's how Cape Town was founded, because of the long journey to India or to Asia, and the route back as well. It was sort of a stopover as well. So yeah, okay, it's Cape Town. It's you can, because with South Africa, in terms of how it was built according to race, class, and race, class, culture, and tribe. So like everyone was put in their place. The system of segregation was strong, because they'll say if you're a Zulu person, you must stick where majority Zulu people are. If you want to move into a region where there's maybe Xhosa speaking people, you need a permit to go to that area. Hence, even people could not just move easily. So yeah, classes, obviously, in terms of money, you rich. If you're rich, you'll stay here. That's why in South Africa, you can literally see, when a rich area, it's a rich area. Here it's a very rich people. It's middle class. You can see where it's poverty, where it's so-called mixed, almost poor or almost making it. You will see. And if it's really, really somebody who's really poor, you will really see. It's a country where you see. It's not like a country where people can just hide and mingle in society without seeing, but you will see in terms of the housing, the structures, and where people are placed as well, because of the historical thing. So yeah, going back to that topic, the Western Cape, there's a group, there's two groups in fact that have been they want to leave South Africa, because Western Cape, in terms of all the other provinces, and Cape Town as a city, because remember, it's Cape Town, it's the biggest city, but there's other big towns in the Western Cape as well that are doing well. But they also have like good audits in terms of their finances. They can account for the money that is allocated to them. It's well run. It's a well run province. Yes, we know that, and yes, it has a lot of white people, but it's not the majority of white people that live there. It's mostly what we call colored people, which is, you can say, mixed race, or people of different mixed cultures and stuff. So yeah, they want to they feel that and it's a province that is not governed by the ruling party. It's the only province in the whole country that is not controlled by the main party. So which is the ANC, the party of your Nelson Mandela and stuff. So that party doesn't control that province. The province is controlled by another organization called the DA. So the DA has been running that municipality, I think, now for close to 15 years or 10, if I'm not mistaken. So they've been clean audits, well-maintained city. We all know that. Clean, yes, we know that. But obviously, there's still outcry in terms of the people that have been in the outskirts of society not being brought into mainstream and being integrated into the city, because it will just seem as if the city just keeps on doing for the middle class and the rich people only. It's not really trying to integrate the really poor people who are down below, or who are low income earners to come into the mainstream and get better housing and stuff. So yeah, those are the things that confront South Africa in terms of classes, inequality. I think we are the most unequal society in the whole world, not even in the continent, where the super rich is super rich, and the poor is really poor. That the gap. So as I told you, it's not a country where people, yes, go everywhere, everything, but in terms of housing, where people live, you easily see economically that can be in places where you think maybe you are overseas or whatever, but there's also those places that are hidden somewhere where you can see that, oh, here's the poor people. Not that every city has those places, but you really clearly see, you think all this wealth, and you see these people living in small, we call them squatter camps or informal settlement, because there's people that are coming to the cities who didn't afford to live in maybe apartments and everything. They may be coming from rural areas. Others maybe even could be coming from other countries in our continent. So they'll probably just get a patch of land, and they'll start putting what we call a shack. It's a tin house, small tin house. Maybe it's just a room. So that person might be a gardener into those rich places, or a gardener in the city or whatever. So he's a low income earner. Or somebody might just be unemployed, just coming there to seek some form of economic opportunity. So yeah, so that province it's also one of the, in terms of tourism, it's a highly agriculture tourism. It's their biggest economic spin, and they're doing well. It's a province that's doing well. Yes, well managed. They can audit their financial audits. They are clean, unlike other provinces. So they feel that their ANC, which is running, because we have 9 provinces in the country. So out of the 9, ANC only runs 8 provinces, but it doesn't control some of the big cities. Like Joburg, at some point, Johannesburg, for example, at some point there was no one really got a majority to rule the mayoral or the council, so they end up having to do a coalition, obviously, where other parties had to join forces and select a member from there. But now currently they've put someone from the ANC, but still there is that. But the rural, obviously, with liberation movements, they are still strong. That we know, and so yeah, those that province is people that feel that the other part of the country is dragging them down.
Yeah.
So when they feel that they're dragging, it's like, how can I put it? Like how do I put this in a simple? It's like maybe in for example, maybe like in if I may use an example, maybe in Ethiopia, Ezra, about maybe let's say where there's this uprising, the friction with the government, the people there. Let's say that region says we are doing well without the government. Economically, we are building infrastructure. We can account to our finance. Every cent we can account. We can say if our city or our state or our province was allocated 25 billion US dollars for this year as a budget, we can account every cent to say we did this, we did this, we did this. But when you go to other provinces, you find that they'll tell you like 500 million is missing. It's unaccountable. It's an expense that no one can account for when they do audits. So things like that. So they feel maybe that they are doing well off economically and they're managing their province well, and they feel that now we can become a country and pull away from the main country. But when you look at them, from my side, I think it's a bad idea. I don't think I won't support such a move, because you will be dividing people again. There'll be people in the next close other surrounding provinces that come from other provinces, which now you have to get a passport, a permit to travel, and all those things. I don't support such a notion. I think we should be learning from each other, and they should win fair and square in other provinces and show the whole country or the ruling party that they can do way, way better than this, because they can show with their city, Cape Town, being a tourist town, and even the other big towns around there, George, your Stellenbosch, you name those towns that are booming in terms of like your wines and all those places. Even canola, even in agriculture, they're very strong in the Western Cape. They're not really a big mining province, unlike the other provinces, where there's lots of minerals, So, but anyway, yeah, but I don't support such notion. Yes, we know that most of the faces, they are white, and they obviously maybe have the money to try to push that agenda, but it's not. I don't see it succeeding. But yeah, you always have that thing of it's a catch-22 for the country, but I think they should win the other provinces, win the country, and maybe show even in the continent that a country can be full well managed, have a big economic growth, build even bigger infrastructure. Because infrastructure, we cannot just leave it to just big cities and big towns or small towns. We need to even start developing other rural areas where they really need the infrastructure. And other small villages in the country, people are building for themselves nice homes. They're not really waiting for the state to give them homes and whatnot. Most of the housing projects are mostly based in the big cities because there's a lot of population and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah,
but I think just to this is where I heard somewhere. I don't know. You could verify this for me. I heard since end of apartheid, the net gain of, I would put it quote unquote, the white elites. That could also include some of the black who are very closely aligned to that, have gained about 20%. Their wealth have gone up by 20%. And then the average South African, their general wealth have gone by some I don't know, remember, is it 1 or 2% down, and the white communities or the so-called white. When I say so-called white in quotes, you could be black and have white personalities. So,
You know,
Look at this guy.
like, I don't want to judge you based on the color of your skin. I want to judge you based on your habits and traditions, the way you see the world, your perspective, how it shaped. But I think like another one thing I want to say pointed to you, like you look at the United States, state of California, where I am, is a net positive contributor to the federal government. State like New York, they are net contributor. But they can't claim. You cannot claim because you contribute more than other provinces. That's economic terms. But they are
that's the second.
what makes a nation like South Africa, the Rainbow Nation, let's say. We call it the Rainbow Nation of South Africa. What makes it a nation is not just its economic power. It's also its political, its social, its cultural, its history. There's a whole set of things that it forms part of identity. And I think these people are just, I think some people are just they are telling us the wrong set of data to make a claim that they deserve some kind of leeway and independence. But first of all, foremost, data is wrong. I don't think it's accurate because they measure very specific areas. They ignore other areas. But and I think it's also like, even if you are net contributor to a community or to society, there's other things that you get from that community and the society that adds value to you that has not yet been monetized, but it adds value nevertheless. So that dichotomy must be pointed out. But
so coming to that point, I think that's a funny topic. It's an interesting topic what you raise about. Sometimes, you know, they used to call them coconuts, white inside, black outside. You know, there used to be a term called coconut that you white inside,
So
black
many
outside.
times, man.
But again,
it
it was a big debate about it, because now, like for us, it's like us having such discussion. For somebody who can comprehend or get into a level of intellectual capacity, they might get into the point as, you guys are coconut. You're living in your nice apartments. They have, you know, sipping your coffees. You travel overseas. You go to seminars and conferences overseas. Then you can come and talk like this. We are hungry here. We want this and this. For some people, then they will term you that a coconut, for example, for being such, or being an educated. They used to call them clever blacks. There was another word they used to use. Oh, a clever black. You think you're a smart black person. You know,
So
but
many words.
so yeah, the economic, in terms of what you said. Also, I mean, even the so-called white, now when you talk about like maybe who have not been diluted in anything, there are those who are poor. There's also like places where there's white people who are poor, who live in shacks, but it's not really as many compared to black people, because black people make 80%. So most people will just say, oh, all the whites are running all the wealth of the country, they're in that country, but they're forgetting that. Look at the rate, the capacity, the population wise, black people make 80%, and then white people make 7-8% now. They used to be 10, but it is reduced to 7%. You know, so yes, they still have the wealth, and they still have the. I always say, we used to sometimes have this topic about why white people sometimes are still advancing further than the black population in terms of in general. Now we talk about in general, not in just saying few. We know that there's been a lot of black people that came up since '94, because black people were not allowed to move. Most people they miss about they just see South Africa now, but they don't really know the struggle of black people direct, in terms of how, as a black person, I was not allowed to become an engineer. I was not supposed to go to any university. I'm supposed to be your domestic. I'm supposed to work. So for many black people, we are the first generations of graduates, and you know. And that's why when others sometimes think, the black people there are not doing anything, they're forgetting that the Mandelas of this world, others might say they're sellout, but I don't see it in that way. I always see it in this way. The vision was clear. They wanted to say, we cannot just now, because we got into power, and just go and take. We grab, and then we end up having nothing, because we don't have the know-how of running whatever all the system, the sophisticated systems that are already in place. So the main thing is to put all the black children in school. We need to have free education. Currently, it's primary to secondary. Tertiary still you still pay and whatnot. Even though there's bursaries, there's funds from the government, But you still have that part where when people say Mandela sold out and whatnot, I think Mandela didn't sell out, and I think Mandela was very wise even to leave power on top. He didn't wait for him to start falling down and losing popularity and want to leave power. He just went for one term, 5 years. The old man said, "Thank you," and people will say, "Will have voted for him. Will have still, if you're still alive, will say, oh, no, let the old man go." But the old man was wise. When he was still on top, everyone celebrated, "Yeah, Mandela, Mandela, thank you. I'm leaving to the young people to run the country." And also, maybe the thing that people should really say, maybe he should have taught more people and tell the black society especially to say, you have a lot of work to do. You have to empower. You have to go take your studies serious, take business serious, take this serious. Those are the things maybe he missed to tell the people, you know, that it was not just about, yes, we've arrived and then we now said, no, it was about a time now to work even harder. You should have just told the people that I'm leaving you with so much work. You're going to sweat for this nation if you want to move forward. So people are now realizing now that, hey, it's getting tough. That old man sold us out. You know? So it's, some people feel like the real test is now, where we need to be building
his part.
And building the continent and building ourselves up, you know? So yeah,
Kuru is trying to get in. Kuru is trying to get in. I don't know if you can help.
Kuru. Ah, okay. Is he? Kuru. You know, when I said, hey, gentlemen, do you mind to show your face? Kuru disappeared. Kuru, did you go to put on?
I'm back now, guys.
I think Kuru was going to shave. Wanted to go shave.
What? You to share what?
You wanted to go shave, Kuru. Tell us.
Clean up yourself, right?
Okay, let me try.
Because when I say,
yeah.
Look at that. Is it my brother?
You cannot just do it half, like, you know, really care.
Cleaned up, huh? You cleaned up well. Nobody cleaned up well.
What up, brothers?
Now.
Face to face today, man. Face to face.
Face to face.
The topic is so hard.
This is beautiful because I actually saw someone. I saw a comment from someone asking for that. Say, guys, can I please, see your face? Who I'm talking to?
So we're not bots, right? We're not bots. We are real.
We're real people.
Yeah. So
I'm loving this because I'm loving this so much because we are all connected with one thing. We have one thing in common. We all understand. We love Africa, first of all, which is very important, and we want to see a united Africa. That's another thing. When I was listening to Ezra, it reminded me of everything that I've heard, because for me, the first time to know about what happened in South Africa was through the movie Sarafina. Sarafina, one of the best movies of all time. If you want to catch up, Hey, we have Asali in the building. Welcome, Asali. And also what is going on. So what happened there? What happened in what is happening right now in Ethiopia? But also when you're mentioning about Mandela, it reminded me of, Nyerere, when he was also, stepping down as a president. People, they wanted him to be, to be forever right there in the regime, but he stepped the time that actually we also needed him the most. And when we had another regime, things, they started to change a lot. And deep inside my heart, I feel urge. I feel like maybe we are paying for what we haven't done yet, because our ancestors, they fought so hard for this continent, for our countries, so hard. And their only wish, Kwame Nkrumah, Nyerere, Mandela, Selassie, all these different people, Kaunda, I can name all of them, but I don't really remember them. They fought for one thing, and they wanted to see one Africa. They wanted to see a united Africa. Because when you go back, you will see how much one country supported another country. You guys, you asked me last time about coming up with a series, something that can actually give you guys something, like how Tanzania contributed to the Africa's independence. And I already sent the request So I'm just waiting for the answer, for that interview. But when you look at that, you realize how they fought so hard for us to be united. But then we didn't pay attention, and now it's like 50 years later, we didn't pay attention, and we are actually seeing the consequences in a different form. We had a colonialism back then with people behind us with, the shotguns and the chains, on our people, everything. If you go, I think I'm going to need to go to Zanzibar, guys, to show you there. I will go there because that's where the slave trade market was back in the days. I need to go there. Yeah, I need to go there and to do that series, That's what was happening. But right now, exactly. Yeah, but right now it's happening in a whole new level, and that's what we are talking about today. And this is it's very dangerous, because this is exposing and giving information. Because I will quote this one scripture in the Bible. It says, "My people are perished for the lack of knowledge." So this is what we are doing right now, is giving each other knowledge and information. And whatever that you want to find, whatever that you want to add to yourself, you can go ahead and do some research and do that and that. But we just want to be aware of what is going on, and we just want to find the solutions. What can we do right now? And that is stand with our brothers and sisters, and let us stand together and, stand tall.
Definitely.
Can I say something, Kuru, before you go? Can I just extend a little bit of Mandela here? A little bit. Just tiny bit. So I'm doing a little bit of research here.
Yes.
And what did Mandela think about Ethiopia? I think Kuru probably have heard of it. So I found somewhere online. So the prospect of seeing Ethiopia had always intrigued him more than visiting Europe or America. That's what Mandela would say in one of his biography. I think his autobiography. And he says, this is a quote for him: "Ethiopia has always held a special place in my own imagination. I felt I would be visiting my own genesis, unearthing the roots of what made me an African." So during the apartheid struggle, Mandela would visit Ethiopia. I think the emperor would give him a passport, an Ethiopian passport, and then his name, I think, was Dawit. I think that was a name that they gave him, like something like is that a cover name? I don't know if you call it a cover name, but the name Dawit holds special place among Christians in Ethiopia, because it's in English means David, and so when you say David or Dawit in Ethiopian context, particularly the Orthodox Christians, you're talking about something very special. So if we have an idea, if there's somebody out there who wants to say, oh, why Ethiopia? What is important about Ethiopia? And I think that's the reason I brought the Mandela quote, just to let you understand. Like, a lot of Africans have an idea of Ethiopia. Even Ethiopians don't have an idea. Even a lot of Ethiopians don't know this. But a lot more Africans. I was educated about the Ethiopia's place in African history, not in Ethiopia, in Ghana. When I went to high school in Ghana, that's where I picked up my Pan-Africanism. That's where I learned about how Ethiopia was seen from the perspective of other Africans. And I came in as a Pan-African, not born out of my Ethiopianness, but based on my experience somewhere else outside of Ethiopia. And then, but there's every African country, every nation has played a huge and massive role in where Africa is right now and where it could be moving forward. And then there's a piece, major puzzles in that. And I think that's what I wanted to point out.
If I can add something there quickly, when we're still on Mandela, I don't know if Nika is aware as well about the ANC being in Tanzania during having camps there in Tanzania and Zambia, especially those two countries where they had like serious bases there in terms of the military training and radio stations, a lot of activities that were there as well. Hence, if you must just check some archives of if even our two late fathers, President Julius Nyerere and Mandela. They even met when they came out of prison, when he came out of prison, when he was now a statesman, and they met, and it was a lot of gratitude for them, especially as ANC, because they had a lot of people that were outside South Africa then, mostly were political people. So because the white people, one thing they made sure was they keep the people economically active. That's why a lot of South Africans didn't really move as much around the continent for economic issue, for economic asylum or any of that stuff. It was mostly political people that went to many countries. So hence the political party that's now in power, it has a lot that, like, Mandela really is thankful for many. Even he went as far as Algeria when and during that time when they were trying to structure a military wing that was going to fight the ruling party then, So, but there is, you must just check some archives of even the two presidents meeting, even talking. There was even some press conferences. Yeah. So, but Mika, Chair, you can take over.
I wanna welcome my sister as well. She has been here for a while.
Okay.
Yes.
Actually, when he was talking about Mandela, the great man, I was reminded of something that happened, and I just want to share it with you. So it was my son supposed to do some African American months. There is African American months in America, so he's supposed to do some paperwork. It's not a big essay thing because he's just a kid, but they just want him to study. And the people that they gave them was one of the person was Mandela, and what he's supposed to work on was a person called Booker T. Washington. He's kind of an author and an educator. He's an African American, and he was working on it. So there is two things that amaze me. So I just want to share with you with that one. The first thing that I noticed is this person that my son was supposed to work on, he's not actually spoken that much in the community as in African American or in American Black history thing, because his point of view wasn't actually that much popular, because he put economy first. When there was a fight that was in human rights, because he was a slave, then he gets free. That was the timeline between 1890 to, I think, about around there, 1856, 1890, around there. That's where he was living. Okay, so when he was working and he got after he get his independence, his freedom from slavery, when he was working, the main focus he had was education and economy, and that brings, after the independence, that brings actually most of the Africans, their economy was actually going for African Americans in America was going first. Actually, it was outpacing the other more than the other race, right? So he received a lot of rejections. He received a lot of pushbacks, but he continued doing what he was doing. And he's not a popular person. He's not that much a popular person. He actually even advised some presidents of the United States. But because he said, no, we African Americans, they should stand on their economy. They should work on their education. So that then the other right movement that you are talking about, if your economy is high and you fit in high standard, of course your money is gonna talk at the end of the day. But those movements were pushed back because they know if they are strong in economy, the human rights movement that is dragged still today will not be there. because they will stand with the right position, right? They're not going to stand in the begging position and saying, oh, give us this food stamp, give us that right, give us that education. They will demand it because they have the standpoint with it. They will have the economy, and they will control the legislation system, the judiciary system, every system that is in the country. But they push back that. And it was my son who's supposed to study it, but it gave me more insight how the people who really do not want us as South Africans strive and achieve something we want to, and they trick us with a simple, it may not be as simple, but with another, it might be great, but lesser things that need attention from us. And we focus on that instead of the main point that we should focus on and work hard on it. The other thing that that's one of the points I just want to share with you. It's amazing that there were people in 80s saying, no, you have to stand in your economy hard. You have to stand in your ground, so that will help you to fight the other fight. But they just lose that point. Now you see most of, if you see the African Americans, not all of them, but most of the way they live, the way that are compared here in America is a very heartbroken thing, that they build this nation and they still pay hard price for it. And that's something that I really felt in this studying Booker T. Washington. And the other thing that I noticed is in their Black History Month history, they mentioned a lot of people. As I told you, they bring out Mandela and as a history, and they try to let the children see it. But I asked the teacher, I said, did you know? And you see, his name just got away from my mouth, and he's my best king. I just talked to them about Adawa, okay, because I want to talk about me and Menelik. And I said, do you know about this guy, Menelik? I'm kind of a fan of Menelik. I know most people say, Haile Selassie, I am the fan of Menelik. No. And I said, do you know about him? And they know nothing. Like they didn't even mention. They do talk about people struggle from fight, but they don't talk about people who won in the first place, who never go under it in the first place. They are teaching the children that you were in the slave, there was this happened, and there is another Black person who never went to slavery, who actually beat the white people. Do you understand what I'm trying to explain? So that history amazed me, and I shared with the teacher, and I say, no, you don't have to teach the children only fighting back the challenge. Actually, you have to tell the story also. There were actually people who won the challenge and they didn't go under it. And she was shocked because she doesn't know the story. She didn't learn it. Nobody told her about it. So she was shocked, and we discussed it. And one of the points that we need to bring out is that, no, it's not only being under slavery, being in colonialism, but also, no, there was a part of us that we were not being there. The things that you talk about, no, we were not being there. Yes, most of us we paid the price, but there was something different. And we want to ignite that. We want to bring that, to bring from the time that we are here now, to bring and to see that we can do it. We don't have to be afraid that to say, can we do it? Can we win again? Can we be free from this economic slavery? Be free from this media slavery? Be free from ideology slavery? Can we be free? Yeah, we can, because we've been there. It's not a new thing. We will do it again. But we have to know those points. And thank you for giving me time again. I just want to share these two things for you guys. And it's really wonderful ideas that you are bringing out.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
It's good to have a lady to just kind of
Spice thing up.
spice things up,
And center us a little bit.
Be honest, you guys are very boring most of the time. Gotta be honest. No offense. No offense, gentlemen.
No, thank you, Leslie. You know,
that's why we try to hide our face, huh? Yes, Kuru.
Yeah.
No, guys, I wanted to say this. I really wanted. I mean, as we were heading, towards the end, I wanna read this. Like it's like 4 different paragraphs, and this is the great speech. It's here on the screen. Julius Nyerere: without unity, there's no future for Africa. You guys, if you get some time, you can read this because it's really beautiful, and it was released in 1997. And he was talking about he saw Africa unity in the 21st century. He was in Accra, Ghana. I'm just gonna read just a few parts, and maybe we're gonna give our final thoughts, and then we can get out of here. I just thought that it's very beautiful to read this. It's amazing. I'm just gonna try to read. All right, are you guys ready?
Yeah, sure.
Just a little bit. All right.
Sure.
It started like this. For centuries, we had been oppressed and humiliated as Africans. We were hunted and enslaved as Africans, and we were colonized as Africans. The humiliations of Africans became the glorification of others. So we felt our Africanness. We knew that we were one people and that we had one destiny, regardless of the artificial boundaries which colonialists had invented. Since we were humiliated as Africans, we had to be liberated as Africans. So 40 years ago, we recognized Ghana's independence as the first triumph in Africa's struggle for freedom and dignity. It was the first success of our demand to be accorded the international respect, which is accorded free people. 37 years later, in 1994, we celebrated our final triumph when apartheid was crushed and Nelson Mandela was installed as the president of South Africa. Africa's long struggle for freedom was over. And then the last 2 lines, I'll read this one. It's really beautiful. Then it says, Africa must unite. That was the title of one Kwame Nkrumah's book. That call is more urgent today than ever before. Together, we, the peoples of Africa, will be incomparably stronger internationally than we are now with our multiplicity of unviable states. The needs of our separate countries can be and are being ignored by the rich and powerful. The result is that Africa is marginalized when international decisions affecting our vital interests are made. Unity will not make us rich, but it can make it difficult for Africa and the African people to be disregarded and humiliated. I'm going to repeat that. That's amazing. Unity will not make us rich, but it can make it difficult for Africa and the African people to be disregarded and humiliated. And it will therefore increase the effectiveness of the decisions we make and try to implement for our development. My generation led Africa to political freedom. The current generation of leaders and peoples of Africa must pick up the flickering torch of Africa freedom, refuel it with their enthusiasm and determination, and carry it forward. That's how we finished it.
this is it.
Wow. Cannot believe this. This speech was 1997. That's
Do you know that,
wow.
I was in Ghana, by the way, at that time. Do you know that Julius Nyerere was actually apologizing to Ghana
exactly
for supporting the gradual unification instead of Kwame Nkrumah's demand?
Exactly.
If you watch that video that Professor Lumumba talks about, he
apologized.
It was a form of apology, and it wasn't.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say it was like it's not that the gradual side was wrong entirely. It was just it was not sufficient for what we wanted.
Exactly. Yeah.
Kuru is bursting with stuff to say, and we gotta let him say stuff.
Definitely, Professor Kuru.
Yeah, what up? No,
The
I
floor is
just
yours,
I think
brother.
the connection is kind of breaking. That's why I can hear
Uh,
clearly. Yeah.
mm, man, this speech, man. It, anyways, man.
Guru, come on, give us some final thoughts, man.
Final thoughts, guys.
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Yeah, man. I mean, you said it right, man. You said it right because now is the time. Now is the time. And if we don't do it now, then when?
Mm, mm,
That's my final thought, man. When?
mm.
To me,
Because
Fair
the
like
enough.
pressure
what
is never stop.
the final thought I have that don't really think, oh, we're coming to rescue Ethiopia. Don't come in
Mm,
thinking that you're coming to rescue Ethiopia. Come in
mm.
thinking that you coming to support your fellow
The movement.
brothers and sisters who are on the battlefield, pushing the
Mm,
boundaries and the barriers that stand
mm,
between Africa's welfare,
mm,
Africa's prosperity, and Africa's
mm,
future well-being. And they're
mm,
standing and they're pushing the barriers, they're breaking barriers. So it
mm,
comes like when you're inside the noise, it looks like a losing battle. But when you actually
mm,
really think hard about it, it's actually a battle that we've been winning for
mm,
centuries.
mm,
The reason colonialism came because like Europeans could not continue to exploit Africa the way they did before colonialism. It was
mm,
not they couldn't trick us into giving our young people, young men and women and children for slavery anymore, because we said no, we can't have it this anymore, and then they invented colonialism, and the reason they
mm.
couldn't continue with colonialism was neo-colonialism because colonialism couldn't stand. The reason they
Yeah.
couldn't continue with apartheid, they just couldn't stand. It is the resistance and the pushback from African people that has achieved so many success, despite the fact that it feels that we haven't succeeded.
Mm,
So if you look at it from the trajectory of justice, trajectory of success, like Martin Luther King has said, the 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 bending of justice bends towards fairness and justice. Kind of like I'm
mm,
paraphrasing his ideas. What I'm trying to tell you is that like you want to join the movement here of not just helping Ethiopia assert its independence and sovereignty, but through that assert the independence and the unity of Africa and accelerate
mm,
the process of bringing Africa together, not just for the sake of this like euphoria and for really meaningful stuff. I
mm.
want Israel to be able to imagine and envision being able to travel to Ethiopia and then pursue opportunities
Yeah.
if that's what he wishes to do so, and then
Mm,
vice versa, and then through that we can multiply our GDP from where it is right now to like 10 to
mm,
20 times more what it is. If there's anybody
mm,
out there who's struggling economically and politically and socially, we can elevate them by bringing more opportunities, by creating more
mm,
opportunities. The unity
mm.
of Africa brings more opportunities for not just for Africa, even for
Yeah.
those countries that are like trying to eat us up.
That's what's
Even
up.
Europeans and Americans that are like so concerned about what's going on with Africa, they will
Mm,
benefit from Africa that's stronger, bolder,
mm,
it's more, and then it's on the table. If Africans are on the
mm,
table, we'll be asking fairness,
mm,
and then that fairness is gonna, go through past all these powers and then reach those people, those poor people in these countries, the immigrants in Europe, the immigrants in America who are struggling on a daily basis. Those homeless people, those people who cannot feed. By the way, just give you an idea. In Africa, there are about 65 million people who are considered food insecure. Guess what? In America, there are about 38 million of them that are food insecure.
mm.
So when Africa
No.
fights, it's not just
Mm,
fighting for those people who are just in Africa. It's for
mm,
white people who are poor, for yellow people who
mm,
are poor, for colorless people who are poor, for colorful people who are poor, for all people who are poor, for women who are marginalized, for men who are marginalized. So what I mean to me, like what Africa is actually standing for and pushing for, ultimately the benefits will extend beyond the boundaries of Africa. When the world learns that you can protect your ecosystem and still manage to maintain economic welfare from Africa, and then they will do the same thing for their ecosystem, and in return begin to resolve climate crisis, begin to resolve economic crisis, inequality issues. So these are things, you go everywhere, poverty attacks everywhere. Food insecurity attacks everywhere. Job insecurity attacks everywhere. It doesn't have any discriminations. It doesn't discriminate. It's acute in Africa because of the system of governance of scarcity mindsets that is running our world. This Machiavellian system of this 18th century, 20th century, 19th century systems that don't fit our world right now. It just doesn't fit, and you're just running into a problem right now because you're just realizing that it doesn't fit. And then so you Americans, you bring Germans and British and UK and France to talk about Ethiopia, mind you, to talk about an African country. They bring Japan, Africa. It tells you.
And what Africa can to do?
Why isn't South Africa invited in there? Why isn't Nigeria invited in there? Why isn't Senegal invited in there? These countries have a point and an opinion about Ethiopia. It doesn't mean they agree. It doesn't mean Nigerians completely agree with Ethiopians. They don't. Doesn't mean South Africans agree completely with the Ethiopians. They don't, because the context within which Ethiopia finds itself, it's not entirely all African. Some of it is Ethiopian. But if you bring South African presidents to the discussions, he will lay out to you clearly that there's something here that's wrong with your approach. Let's roll back a little bit. Let's calm down and see the issue from a bigger picture. They will be asking the questions they don't want to hear. And then, so what we're asking here is that we're asking other African countries to have a say on African affairs, on Ethiopian affairs. If the Ethiopian government is responsible, it must be held accountable for something it has done wrong. It should be the African brothers and sisters to tell us that.
Exactly.
Understand from where we're coming from. Not.
That's a good point.
So what we're asking you, we're not asking you to give Ethiopia a pass, but to be on the side of Ethiopia as it is.
Exactly.
From the perspective of Ethiopia, they are piercing through this issue that we have, this issue of opportunity for Africans. We from an Ethiopian perspective, we're trying to really break barriers that has prevented Africans from climbing up. And if the way we are doing it is not singing to the tune of many of Africans, let the Africans tell us.
Thank you, brother.
So yeah.
That's powerful. That's powerful.
In closing, from my side, as Africans, we should not doubt ourselves. We are very rich people. We are very smart people. We are very blessed people. We are very powerful people, and we should not doubt ourselves because of our past or what we've gone through. All those experiences should make us strong to have a powerful testimony at the end of the day. But as a continent that's rising, that needs to fix itself, that needs to adjust itself, that needs to heal. We have so much to do for ourselves. We still need to heal. We need to, but all these things needs to be done. None can be left behind. Whether it's the economic, whether it's the education, whether it's the infrastructure development, everything needs to be done. And we cannot sit and say we'll outsource the problems to the outside world because they've got money. No, we need to have our own solutions that will suit us instead of solutions that will suit other people because of their also interest in us. And as I'm looking at other nations that are interfering or having a say in our continent, others are just seeking to hold on onto something that they know they cannot have influence. When I look at France, France has no political power now internationally now, a big say in terms of the world politics. Hence, Africa is the only place where they can still have people that they can still listen to or try to control. Hence, their presence still in our continent. So for us, the solution remains with us. We are rich people. We just need to know where to start, what to do, but we all need to be building. We need to start looking at ways to plan ourselves and plan for ourselves and take our continent forward, because no one will do it for us. Not the Chinese, no one. Everyone has their own interest. We have to also look at our own interest first to say what will be our solutions. We know what we need to do, but it's just a matter of us sitting down and planning and doing it. And it will not sometimes take everyone at the same time, but others, as with everything good, when you start, like when you go to school, some people might say, they might laugh at you when you're doing your school. But the moment you bring your results and you've made it, you are graduating, you're doing well, others now see the importance of what you're doing. So for us, it's for us to the ones that we see that we can build ourselves and build this continent. It's up to us as young people. We cannot really outsource our problem to our politicians to always cry about the politician needs to do this. Yes, they're playing a big role because they are the face of our country and our countries and stuff. But as well, we need to put pressure from our side to say these are the things that we stand for, and these are the things that we need as we are building going forward, and show that we need to, like, if you look at all these leaders that we celebrate today, our president, the former president Nyerere, your Kwame Nkrumah, all of them, they started young. They didn't just reach there. They started at these ages that we are in. They started being active. They didn't stop. They went to study overseas. They came back and they still pursued this political for the independence of Africa. If they did, I think what you on the speech of our late president, where he said something about the generation that fought for the independence of Africa. Now we should be fighting now for the economic independence of Africa as well. Because now our elders have fought for the economic now so that they can be in power to make decisions. That economic, that political was for decisions to be made, the nations to make decisions instead of an order that comes from a queen somewhere else or a president will lead somewhere else to say what we need to do, and to strengthen ourselves and not rely on donations so much. Let us try by all means not to rely. I pray that we may not rely on donations where people are building even our headquarters, building things, and then they do certain things, and that's why they start having big mouths when we have to solve our issues.
That's true.
So I believe that we need to fight, even if we don't have to build the biggest headquarter of something or something for ourselves, even if it's just one building. That's our start. We should start there. We should not just always cry to say, we'll get a donor funder to just do this for us, and then, So those are the things that we need to build. Whether it's small, yes, to the world, it might not look like the UN headquarters in New York or whatever, but we need to have something that where we can say, look inside. And also our leaders, that's one of my prayers, that our leaders can take confidence in their people, to take the confidence in their people to say, we want to do this as a country. Who has the skill to do this? Who needs to fund? Whether it's 50 cents to just put in, everyone has a contribution. Even the poor person has something to give. There's no one who doesn't have something. God has given us something, everything. It can be an idea. It can be a solution to say, Mika, if you can just screw this thing, turn it left, the camera, tilt the camera like this, it'll look maybe nice like this,
This guy is telling you the truth now. I'll do it next time.
So I'm just saying, like, everyone has a contribution for them to take confidence in their people, and not just when they have a problem, they're running to maybe someone who has money. Hey, I've got this problem. Because our government now, they're caught in the cycle of trying to create jobs, the pressures of their own country. Instead of them going back to the same people who are putting pressure to them and say, guys, how can we build this together? Instead of them just going overseas to say, I'm looking for investment all the time, or borrowing money, IMF, World Bank, IFC, all these financial institutions. Instead of looking inside and say, can we do this? Sometimes even if some projects come, can men in that province or in that region, can they just dig holes and then The construct will come, whatever. Whoever wants to volunteer, if it means volunteering, let's do it. If it's going to be for our country, but people, they need to take confidence in us. That's my wish and my prayer, and I still say we are strong as we are building. This is a seed as we are plowing seeds now. This will grow and it will grow, and we should not worry. There will be resistance, but we will conquer. You know, let's keep the spirit up, and God bless Africa.
God bless Africa.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Gentlemen, I think this is it was
Dropped. The main host is dropped. Hey, so as we wait for our man Mika to come in, we're doing final words. Sorry, like there's some people who want to be part of these conversations. Are saying something on the comment. Hopefully next time Farah wants to say a few things, but sorry we cannot bring you on board. But yeah, Mika is having he's been having a little bit of technical problems today, but the point is, conflicts, like in the case of Somalia and Kenya, for example. I think that's what Farah wants to talk about. The issue is being handled in some court in Europe, I think in Netherlands. But trust me, Kenya and Somalia are better off resolving the issue in their own, in the African framework, in the African space. I mean, you won't be conflicted. If Africa was one, you will not be struggling. Which part of the water can I use? Which part of the water I cannot use? So. But that could be a result. So African unity resolves so many issues that Africans face among themselves. Even conflict among ourselves could easily be resolved through African involvement. So I've been filling in the gap a little bit for you, Mika, since you dropped off. So can you hear us, Mika? I don't think you can hear us. Hello, Mika.
Can you guys hear me?
Now we can hear. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
I can barely hear you guys. I mean, Devil is a bastard. You know, he wanted to take me out again. My phone, it just stopped all of a sudden because it was too hot. But well, gentlemen, I love each one of you, and those who came here today and left, and everybody down there in the comment section. I will be sharing with you, gentlemen. I know most of you know this speech, so I will share with you there. I think there's a need for us to come here again, and if it is possible for all of us to come, we can come back here tomorrow and continue this conversation. Continue to build on what we spoke about today. We can come again tomorrow, because right now we're in the middle of the crisis, especially Ethiopia, as we see. So I think it's the time for us to raise a voice and to bring more awareness to Africans out there. And I know there's a lot of countries are going through some issues. So this will be the safe place to talk about it. This will be the safe place to update each other. What's going on in Africa and what can we do? What can we take? Like, how can we take one step forward? So thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
It's sad to let you go now.
Okay. Keep well.
Hey, stay good, guys. One Africa, forever.
One Africa.
Yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Bye.
And I'll talk to you in WhatsApp there. Yo, guys! Wow, this was beautiful. They had such a beautiful moment. Let me just take a moment to appreciate everybody who joined here today. You guys, you shared a lot of comments there. I know not all of you were able to come on the live stream today, but there's amazing comments here in the phone I'm checking out right now. I'm not gonna be able to go through them, but I really appreciate your hearts and your determination of wanting one Africa. And special thanks to Professor Ezra, Professor Kuru, um, I don't know how to call you. I think tomorrow we're gonna need to baptize Ezra South Africa with another title there, and then we have our beautiful sister who joined us here today as well. That was amazing. I think I'm really enjoying, this moment because we are having a panel, and we're having different perspectives, different opinions from different people. Anyone, this is an open discussion. Anyone can join. All right, anyone can join. You don't have to feel like, I think I cannot really join. Oh, those guys that look smart, man. I don't want to offend anybody, but you cannot look down on yourself. Okay, I like this one comment here. I think I'll read. Somebody said something about it. It said, where is it? I want to read that. It was amazing. Something. Someone said something, and someone replied that message. Where's that? I hope I can see it. And I hope you guys are gonna continue to share what we are doing here, so that more people that can be involved. If you know anyone who has this spirit of one Africanism, even those who don't have, I think this is the best place to be educated. You can ask questions, you can raise your point. Yes, Ethiopia, Haile Jesus, he said, we are not stuck. Take that out of your mind, because somebody commented like, Africa, we are stuck, and she said, we are not stuck. Take that out of your mind. When I saw this, I honestly loved it, because what you confess is what happens. We have to change our attitude, and we have to change our mind, how we think about Africa. If we think that we're not going to get out of this, we're not going to get out of this. We need to be positive, we need to believe, we need to trust, and we need to pray to include God in the process. And we need to have a conversation. How are we going to do this? Yes, maybe we don't have any position in the government, but we have a voice. You're African, I'm an African. Every voice matter. Your voice matter, my voice matter, her voice matter, everyone's voice matter. And that's what we're doing here. So tomorrow, guys, first of all, today, in 9 minutes from now, I am releasing a video. And this was the speech that was done by a Kenyan sister in front of the president of France. Video is coming very soon, after 9 minutes from now, here on YouTube. So as soon as I'm done that video will be come out. Please go and share your opinions in the comment section. You can continue the conversation in that video as we are listening to that speech. And tomorrow we'll be coming back to talk about what is written right here, Julius Kambarage Nyerere, without unity, there's no future for Africa. So we're going to go through the speech as well, what is here, and maybe share different opinions from, different ancestors that really stood up for Africa back in the days, because there's an urgent call for Africa to be united. And with the end note, I want to read again the last part of this speech, because I love it. I think I'm going to do something about this. I think I wanna record this speech and share it later on. But I want to read the last part of this speech, what it says. And this is what Nyerere said. He said, Africa must unite. That was the title of Kwame Nkrumah's books. That call is more urgent today than ever before. Together, we, the people of Africa, will be incomparably stronger internationally than we are now with our multiplicity of unviable states. The needs of our separate countries can be and are being ignored by the rich and powerful. The need of our separate countries as one and one can be and are being ignored by the rich and powerful people, powerful country. The result is that Africa is marginalized when international decisions affecting our vital interests are made. That's what Kuru was pointing out, that in G20 we don't have AU there. We don't have Africa Union. We don't have a single African country in G20. This is the point. The needs of our separate countries can be and are being ignored by the rich and powerful. The result is that Africa is marginalized when international decisions affecting our vital interests are made. Unity will not make us rich. That's not what we're looking for. Unity will not make us rich, but it can make it difficult for Africa and the African people to be disregarded and humiliated. Disregarded and humiliated. Together we stand, divided we fall. Unity will not make us rich, but it can make it difficult for Africa and the African people to be disregarded and humiliated. And it will, therefore, increase the effectiveness of the decisions we make and try to implement for our development. My generation led Africa to political freedom. The current generation, our generation of leaders and people of Africa, must pick up the flickering torch of Africa freedom, refuel it with their enthusiasm and determination, and carry it forward. That's what we got to do, guys. That's the end. And I appreciate guys for joining. I love you. I'm going to meet you guys here tomorrow to talk about this. Without unity, there's no future for Africa. Together we stand, divided we fall. Thank you guys so much. I love you. Good evening, Africa. See you guys in 6 minutes from now. We're releasing new video. It's powerful video. So please join in 6 minutes here on YouTube. The video is already there. Join me very soon. Now it's 5 minutes already. All right, guys. Good night.